not yet on staff. So there was a consent agreement in that case, a settlement agreement, that was really quite good given our limited leverage. And for sure, and included record keeping and community board. It was a 5-year existence of that decree, which is over now, and I'm sure they're not doing the record keeping. But yeah, that was certainly an input we used in formulating the relief in this case.
So actually, we just filed a records request also to the Department of Public Safety over those records. I was on a panel with Frank Milstead, who is the chief DPS, and I said, Frank, are you guys still collecting data? And he said, we sure are. And I said, well, can I have it? And he said, well, send us a records request. And so, I mean, I think to your point that what happens, unfortunately, with a lot of these departments is that they, we believe, the ACLU believes that it's in the best interest of police departments to collect stop data and to collect data on the race and ethnicity of the people that are stopped, because that's really the only way that you can determine whether or not a problem exists.
They did for 3 years.
They did, right. So they did, and so they claim that they're still collecting that information. And so that's why we filed the records request. And so a lot of these departments, what happens is when they are the subject of a court order and they're under some sort of a settlement period, they comply, and they spend all these resources to reform their entire systems, and then once that litigation ends, also those taxes end. So it's really about kind of changing the culture. There's a lot of good conversation happening now nationwide as part of the president's kind of 21st century community policing model that are recommending data collection, that are recommending a lot of the reforms that are coming out of this case. But, we have to convince these departments to do these things voluntarily, because when it's in the context of litigation, it's very contentious, and they're not happy about it.
Gentleman in the back.
Yes. Yes.
Excuse me. Back in 2011, the state legislature passed the bill.
Back in 2011, the state legislature passed a bill establishing that undocumented immigrants are not entitled to receive any punitive damages. As far as I understand, it was passed, signed by Governor Brewer. I don't know if that's still a valid law. Do you know if that's still valid? Do you know if that might have an impact on the possibility of any undocumented immigrant either living outside the United States or here in the country, that it's entitled to compensation in this case? Do you know if that state law, if it's still valid, might affect that possibility of having them compensated?
No, we would not be getting, quote, punitive damages as a result of this compensation. We would be getting actual damages to make the person whole, that we can prove whether it's physical or just for a certain amount of time that they should not have been detained and so forth. So it won't come up in this context. Yeah, the law is still on the books, very much so.
Hi, my question is this only for the people that were stopped when they were driving, or the people that were arrested at work too?
That's different.
Both. Judge Snow has been made clear that his definition of the class, which has read, as I wrote it in 2008, which is every Latino passenger or driver in a vehicle stopped by MCSO. That's the class definition. And I have to admit that I was thinking about people who were stopped in their own cars. And the judge has made it clear that he considers, because they technically fit the class definition, people who are picked up in these workplace raids, which are generally not in cars, although we did have a case at the ACLU where it was in a car, and one of the cases just outside of a work site as they were on their way in. But he said if they are stopped wrongfully by the sheriffs and then taken in a sheriff's car, which they generally are, of one type or another, he considers that to be a member of the class. So at the moment they will be included in the people who could get the damages, and that's a very good point. From a workside raid situation, which is the subject of another plenty case that ACLU and others are doing. So yes.
And the judge actually did reiterate that
expansion at the hearing last week.
Go ahead, Sal.
Yeah, what's gonna happen with the Yankees, the Honorum, the Cocopa, that I personally saw getting stopped? They're not Latinos according to the past. Are they going to be included or not? Because they're also victims. And many of them were stopped. I know in Guadalupe, a lot of Yankees were stopped. And I saw personally the Honorum and Cocopa getting stopped when we were monitoring them. So what's gonna happen to them?
Yeah, it's going to be hard to fit within this structure. You know, at the time when we were writing the complaint, we did not have any examples, and sure, of course, I was ignorant than others of the community here, and I apologize, but it was only written in terms of Latinos. So it's always hard to get relief that goes beyond the class definition. In this particular case, not in follow-up.
I have a kind of two-part question. The first one is to try to find out, or if you have an idea, why there has been low turnout at these meetings with the monitor team in the different sections that they set up the meetings. And the second part is for an average Maricopa County resident, or the question would be, what are your recommendations for an average Maricopa County resident to get fully involved in the process in order for the MCSO to come into full compliance, and to also assure that the results of the Melendez lawsuit are adequately fulfilled. So that's my two parts.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, about I'll address your second question. I think it really is important to attend all of these community meetings, to attend the monitor meetings. At these meetings, you can talk to the monitor, you can give your input, and people from MCSO do attend these monitors meetings. So that is your opportunity to actually address, people actually in MCSO. So yes, please attend these meetings. It really is very important. And I would also recommend, attending our CAB meetings and paying attention to everything that the CAB's doing. For instance, this letter that the CAB has written and they want to submit to the U.S. Attorney's Office. That is really important.
In the last monitors meeting, one of the things that Chief Warshaw said that he would like to see, of course, more community participation, but he would like to, at some point, see the community ask questions directly to the sheriff's office, because that's what it's about, holding the sheriff's office accountable. And he would like to see those questions directed to the sheriff's staff that's there. That way they can answer questions or be held responsible and accountable.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons for the low attendance, I think, has to do with the location. Some of these meetings are held in really far out places because they're required to be held in the different districts. But the monitor has received a lot of feedback from the CAB about this, and I know that from our last discussions, they are going to try to do them more centrally located. And then the other thing that was discussed is, instead of us holding meetings, for us to actually go into already existing functions and participate or be available to you guys so that we can go into the community as opposed to just always expecting the community to come to us.
And the meetings it's what, 7 districts? So there's supposed to be a meeting every 3 months in one of the districts, in one of each of these districts, and some of them, there was, a meeting in Buckeye, and I think it was like probably Lydia and the monitor team that was there. And I think that is a problem, and so that's one of the recommendations, that we have them in centralized locations that are more accessible to people. Yes, sir.
Thanks. Is the CAB letter to the U.S. Attorney's Office available somewhere on the internet, and are you soliciting public support for that letter?
Yeah, we just wrote it, so it's a draft. I did bring some copies, And I am gonna put it up online, and we are soliciting support for anybody who wants to sign on to it. So.
There's also a website that's called changingmcso.org, and so on there we post all of the meetings, right?
We have a Facebook page also.
We're posting both the CAB meetings, the monitor meetings, all of the filings in the case. So if you go to that changingmcso.org.
Yeah, we have a Twitter also.
Twitter.
Yeah.
Oh, and there's a handout too in the back.
Yeah.
That has the website
And
all the contact information for the CAB members as well. And to contact.
Oh, that one.
Oh. Okay. Yes.
Yep. There are victims in the field, whether it's for MCSO or for any other agency. Who can they contact? I mean, they're incarcerated, besides a private attorney, what can they do?
They can contact, there's several organizations that are taking this information, organizations like Dona Tierra, like Puente, organizations like, I'm now at Chicanos por la Causa also taking in a lot of that. There's the CAB as well, the ACLU also. So there's several organizations, and believe it or not, we share information, we talk to each other. So
yeah, we are accepting complaints from all these agencies, but for the purposes of this litigation and for complaints to the monitor, it has to be obviously MCSO related.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think in our handout that we're handing out tonight, it does have the monitor's information, where if somebody is stopped by MCSO, they can.
You can email monitor directly.
Yes, then they can contact the monitor directly, in addition to contacting us at the ACLU.
There's a phone, there's an email, and there's US mail.
So can one of you talk a little bit, I think maybe Brenda, you alluded to this during your initial comments. You said, because I think a lot of times, we lose sight of this because the reality is he's only complied with, 38 out of 87 different measures, which is not a great record. But there are some things, like you mentioned, this traffic tickets. What does this mean to the average person who may be stopped by an MCSO deputy?
Yeah, so while, these overarching changes within MCSO as an agency, it is slow going. But we hope to change that soon with these new remedies that the judge will issue. So some of the changes that have already been implemented, one, I think we've already discussed the body-worn cameras. Those have been implemented in most of the districts in MCSO. And then traffic stop deputies are to keep track of all of the traffic stop data, meaning that they have to keep track of the time of the stop, the reason for the stop, the name, the age, the perceived race of the person who they stop. They have to keep track of all of this. And their supervisors are supposed to review all of these records every so often to keep track of any sort of bad or questionable behavior that might pop up during these traffic stops. Now, MCSO deputies, they also have to now issue receipts to people who are stopped in these traffic stops. And these receipts will detail some of this information that I've already said, but it has to give like the deputies information, the reason for the stop and so on, so that if somebody stopped, they have a record of it, and they know exactly why they were stopped and who they were stopped by. So that if something maybe bad or questionable does happen, they can refer to the receipt and they can say, oh, this is who stopped me and this is why they stopped me.
So a couple things. The next hearing is going to be on June 17th. And if you all haven't done so already, please sign up to receive ACLU Arizona Action Alerts. If you go to our website, which is acluaz.org, you can sign up for Action Alerts, which is where we send, it's our email alerts, and we will send you information about the upcoming ACLU hearings.
And let me just say
I'm
that
sorry, Ryan here.
the ACLU has been a great community ally, and this is, you know, I have not been asked to do this, but I just want to say that without the ACLU, we would not have gone as far as we did in stopping, you know, pushing back Arpaio and stopping him dead in his tracks, because Arpaio is no longer the Arpaio that used to be. You know, the guy that used to pound his chest and say, you know, he was, even a lot of his rhetoric and his language on the radio, on TV, and everything has changed. But my ask to the community is, you know, this is a nonprofit organization and they rely on donations. So if you also, you know, if you have any influence with, you know, or if you'd like to make a donation, I advise you to do so, because without them, you know, they also need to survive. And thank you for all of your work, ACLU. And again, I can't thank you enough, knowing that, you know, I would not have enough money in the world to pay for all of the legal services. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Before we leave, I quickly want to let everyone know about the next monitors meeting, which is to take place in July, July 21st. July 21st. The location is still being determined, but please mark your calendar for July 21st. And once we know that location, we will definitely let everyone know.
And just to continue just some dates, the next hearing is June 17th, Friday at 1:30 p.m. It's possible the judge will make clear what his decisions are on the remedies, including the real possibility of referral for potential criminal charges, which would be interesting timing because the next day the sheriff is appearing at a political event for a presidential candidate, we're told, in Arizona.
And that'll be 1:30 June 17th in Murray Snow's courtroom, which is it's on 401 West Washington in the federal court building on there, the big greenhouse. Yeah. But thank you all for coming. We really appreciate it, and we appreciate the support.
El que no crea que haga la prueba.